That is the SUV, and you know, they must know we're watching. They actually just started almost behaving themselves, driving much slower at this moment. Now we are southbound La Crescenta from Mountain. That was the last major. Definitely in the Glendale area. You can see it's LAPD. They are in pursuit. They have let Glendale know. There's a Glendale PD vehicle right there. They have let them know that they are out here. Now the want for this person that is running from officers, and there may be up to 3 people inside this vehicle. The want right now is they're saying robbery. That's the original want. Don't know how if somebody witnessed it or came to be, but that vehicle at one point driving the wrong way on the freeway, extremely high speeds, wrong way on the streets as well, meaning driving into oncoming traffic. Right now though, all of a sudden driving actually kind of sane, just moving about 30-40 miles an hour. Even the helicopter overhead, the LAPD helicopter overhead, giving the units on the ground heads up, saying that, you know what, this change in behavior, they might be looking for a place to jump out of the vehicle. Now we do know the driver, possibly 2 other people inside that vehicle. Original want, some sort of robbery situation. Not sure if they were undercover. They were being watched by undercovers. But this vehicle this afternoon driving extremely fast and reckless. And it does seem like things are starting to pick up once again as we're continuing southbound on La Crescenta well into the Glendale area right now.
Yeah, I can see from the windshield, through the windshield, that the passenger is moving around. A lot. That was a close call, wasn't it? It went through that intersection.
Very close call.
And Stu, you said this driver was going the wrong way on the freeway?
Wrong way on the freeway at one time on the 210 near Pennsylvania.
Wow.
You know, the one thing, anybody that drives in the Glendale area, beautiful city, a lot of history out there, smaller roads, very tight areas out here, very congested almost all of the time. And you can see this happening right now. These smaller streets out here, that vehicle maybe not blending in, but at one point you saw it making these wide turns. There we go, wrong side of the road once again, passing across that center line. You got more officers in the area now. Glendale PD might not just take this over. They may not. Oh, look at these crazy moves. You just gotta be thankful for that one officer, 2 officers now right behind him, LAPD. Probably lights and sirens going, at least giving folks heads up on these intersections as he's running stale reds. Now when they say stale red, meaning the light's been red for a moment or 2, meaning other traffic might be coming. Right now, continuing, we're still basically in a southbound direction.
Robbery.
This is the general area where this pursuit started. It was started over by the 5 and the 2. That's where we were first getting wind of this going on. So it made its way north up on the 2, onto the 210, La Crescenta area, crazy driving out there. And then now in the Glendale area, whoa, look at that.
Whoa.
Made a sharp turn right there. LAPD actually also making those moves right behind that vehicle. So they really are trying to warn the public. They want this to come to an end. Possibly robbery suspects we don't know if there's weapons in that vehicle, but right now, definitely established in the Glendale area, LAPD handling this pursuit.
Well, we seem to have lost Stu Mundell, but we will get him back in just a moment. You are watching a pursuit happening in the Glendale La Crescenta area, and there you see that white SUV there. Police are in hot pursuit of that car that's been driving extremely dangerously and erratically. Slow speeds on the surface streets right now, but apparently there might be 3 suspects in that car wanted for robbery.
And apparently this started on the 5 and the 2, Stu was telling us. He also did say that this driver was going the wrong way on the 210 at times. We've seen him do erratic moves on these streets in Glendale. Sometimes he passed that. It looked like a person who was walking on the street and he just passed by him really fast.
He's really dangerous.
Very dangerous moves out here, sharp turns, and apparently wanted for some sort of robbery. It'd be interesting to know if this was a robbery at a, Stu, do you know if this was a robbery at a home or a business? Do we know anything more about the robbery?
No, you know, they don't give those types of specifics when they're calling these things out. They were just giving out codes. The code is robbery, but it doesn't say if it's a residential robbery or maybe a store. They don't say anything like that. I can tell you right now, we're southbound Adams from Colorado, picking up a little bit of speed out here. Very residential neighborhood. You can see how close he's coming to other vehicles. Back on the wrong side of the road to avoid another car, basically driving. Coming up to another stop sign. and right there, just passing Chevy Chase is what I heard, or coming up to Chevy Chase, making the turn on Chevy Chase. But we're basically working our way back into the LAPD area, but he's kind of taking that roundabout way. Don't think he's concerned about what town he's in right now.
No.
But right now, moving very quickly at some points, but apparently, from what we're hearing, according to LAPD, actually more subdued than he was earlier on. We're in the area of the another left-hand turn.
Moving into a
back
neighborhood.
into a residential neighborhood out here. So staying in that neighborhood, possibly he knows this area. I couldn't even begin to guess. But right now, slowing a little bit. Some folks out there on the road, very residential neighborhood. And we just continue to watch his very dangerous chase. LAPD behind him on the ground, over him in the air. And it's still making its way through this area out here. Even Sky 9 doing little pirouettes out here this afternoon, trying to keep up. Back onto Chevy Chase, basically back the way we came. Now we're westbound on Chevy Chase.
Stu, how fast do you think he's going on these residential streets?
I would have to guess about 40, 45 on the residentials. Right now, he's actually speeding up. Wrong side of the road. Higher speeds. You can see him just kind of back and forth. You just go, so close. And look at this is what we were talking about earlier on. These higher speeds, very dangerous situation indeed. You got looks like an LAPD officer. Back to southbound on Brand. I believe we're southbound on Brand from Chevy Chase. Again, this is Glendale. So they do know, and I'm sorry, the street is Glendale, and this is in the city of Glendale. LAPD in pursuit, dangerous suspects, very high speeds. You saw it, that momentary burst right there. Apparently that was going on for a lot longer just before we got here. Right now, you can see this vehicle still moving very fast, very tight roads out here, very narrow streets. Residents, this is a very residential area. And on Glendale, southbound from Chevy Chase, we've been moving pretty quickly. We'll get you another major as soon as he passes it. Hopefully this ends very peacefully. Right now, possibly 3 people inside that vehicle.
Possibly armed
really
too, right?
want this just to come to an end. Well, they just said robbery. We haven't heard the armed part yet. But if the desk has more information, southbound San Fernando. So we're actually starting to get back into the LAPD area. That doesn't mean more units are going to get involved, but it might have other officers in the area from the LAPD if this comes to an end. When this comes to an end,
a little bit of
squeezing through there.
Squeezing through. He's going to try to get away, no matter what it takes. He's right now in the center, and he's picked up speed, a lot of speed.
Oh, this is
not good.
Not good at all. You can see those other cars just moving right by him out there as we're tracking that vehicle. Center lane, San Fernando Road, going against traffic again right there. And this is the time these streets are whoa. Onto the sidewalk. Thank goodness there was nobody out there. And it's this type of behavior. They want this guy to come to an end. They want this to come to an end. They want this vehicle to stop.
Stu, how close is the LAPD at this point?
Right behind them.
Very close.
You know, right now, lights and sirens. That is a valuable thing. At least it's giving a lot of folks heads up that something might be happening.
Yeah, this guy.
Southbound San Fernando.
This guy's driving so erratically.
Back on the freeway.
Oh, there he goes. How do you stop someone like this? I guess you just chase them until they slow down or decide to make a run for it.
You know what? That is the miracle question. Everybody's always asking it. You can't do it. You obviously can't use a pit maneuver, possibly spike strips, but how do you get in front of the vehicle moving this quickly? So right now, tracking mode was initiated earlier on. And coming back, we're on to the 5 south is what I'm hearing from my pilot, but LAPD talking about the 2 freeway. So we'll keep an eye on it right now. But this vehicle moving very quickly, getting a little pushy out here when there's traffic. And that is just not good. I know there's a tunnel right there. We'll see him pop out right over here. Hopefully, there he is. And established onto the southbound 5, or will establish. He might be able to take an off-ramp. I think Stadium is coming up over here as well. But this is the general area where it started, so this might be an area that he's familiar with. Look at that. And just getting so close to all these vehicles.
All right, this is Sharon Tay along with Crystal Cruz, and welcome to KCAL 9. This is Sharon Tay along with Crystal Cruz. Welcome to KCAL 9 News at 4 o'clock. We are watching some breaking news happening in Glendale, a pursuit that's in progress. And for our CBS 2 News viewers, we welcome you as well. Yes, indeed, we are following this pursuit. It has been going on for quite some time. It is a very dangerous pursuit of robbery suspects.
And Stu Mundell is overhead for us, and he's been watching this whole thing. And Stu, you were telling us when this first started, this guy was driving so erratic. We've seen him on the wrong side at times of the roads and also on the 210 freeway, you said.
On the 210 freeway, driving against traffic on the 210. He actually made a U-turn on the 210 to correct that. That was over by Pennsylvania. Right now, though, we are basically Elysian Park. We are Elysian Park. I can see the stadium right next to us. I believe we're on Glendale Boulevard. He just got off the southbound 5 freeway. Now, this road right now, wide open.
Yeah.
There's a lot of roads out here in this area wide open. He's been taking advantage of those high speeds, but it isn't going to get him anywhere. You've got the helicopter overhead. You've got the officers on the ground back in the LAPD area right now, so that means other officers are going to probably be, if they are available, they will be nearby. They might not be jumping into that pursuit, but they're going to make themselves conveniently available in the neighborhood if something should happen. Wrong side of the road as he's making that sweeping turn. Go ahead, go ahead.
Isn't the LAPD Police Academy nearby?
It is close by. Don't know if we're actually going to go by it, but yes, we're definitely very close to Dodger Stadium, and that means we are close to the actual LAPD Academy as well.
And you're right, those streets are wide open because hardly anyone travels those streets.
Yeah, it looks. We're actually on Academy Way right now, and working his way. If you know that parking lot, you know LA. He's getting very close to Dodger Stadium. I was kind of wondering maybe he was going to go through there. Right now, though, staying on the main streets, you can see no other vehicles. That's the first plus out here, and perhaps they will try to do something in this type of wide open area.
Yeah, this would be
these high speeds.
This would be a great place to do a pit maneuver if they can get close to him.
If they can get close to him, and there's nobody else around. Those are the two things. You have to worry about the safety factor. Right now, this is a big sweeping turn. I know it brings us back out onto Sunset if we keep driving this way. So it's going to start getting crowded. I'm getting a little bit wider because you can see other officers that are conveniently in the area. And making that turn right there. Elysian Park, that's where we are. We'll get you some streets as soon as I can securely say where we are. But again, approaching the 110 freeway, not taking it.
No, he's going to.
And
it seems like
he's slowing it down just a little bit.
Did you say Sunset Boulevard? Is that the street he's on?
Well, I thought we were going to pop out on the no. I thought he might pop out on the Sunset. Looks like we're heading our way basically over maybe towards Broadway or Figueroa.
And Stu, have we seen any passenger action?
I've been just trying to keep up with the car. I haven't really been able to spend that time to peek inside the windows.
Well, sometimes
those tinted windows would make it very difficult.
Sometimes during these pursuits, they'll roll down the window, they'll throw stuff out of the car for whatever reason, but I haven't seen any of that. The windows are tinted very dark, and it looks from the, that was very close. It looks from the windshield that they're moving around in the car a lot. Probably scrambling to figure out what to do.
You know, I always wondered what those conversations are inside that vehicle. If they're egging them on, or if they're saying, "Hey, maybe we should slow this down." You know,
would think they'd be telling them to slow down.
Yeah, you'd be hoping that's what was going on.
Definitely.
Right now, though, those tinted windows, officers can't see in there. We can't see in there. We were peeking in that front window earlier on. The report was that possibly 3 people inside that vehicle. So 2 passengers, maybe. The driver, they were giving a. So we're southbound Broadway right now through Bernard. So we're making our way out of the Elysian Park area. We're going to start making our way into the Chinatown area. A lot of cross traffic, and you can see it's going to start getting a little bit more packed as we work our way towards downtown Los Angeles. Right now, though, this vehicle's relatively slower. LAPD right behind him. Dangerous suspects inside that vehicle. LAPD not giving this up. They were in surveillance mode for just a short amount of time. But that high speeds, those dangerous moves, they decided to keep those officers as close by as they can, and with the lights and sirens going.
Yeah, this is where the 110 and 101 kind of meet. They're in Chinatown right now, so they've decided to stay on surface streets and avoid. They're on Cesar Chavez, avoiding the freeway altogether because that area is so congested.
And Stu, in your experience, when they're in a congested area, do they stay close to the person trying to get away from them, or give them a little space?
You know what, the LAPD, I'm not versed in their policies at all. I can tell you this afternoon, those officers that are right behind them, the vehicles that have pretty much been there from the inception of this pursuit, have been doing a fabulous job, staying safe, staying close, and keeping that vehicle nearby or close by enough where they can keep an eye on it and at least try to warn the public. Using that center lane again, Cesar Chavez, we're right by Men's Central Jail. Actually, he's making the turn away from there. I have a feeling that he's going to be spending some time there shortly. Right now, though, he's making his way back over towards the freeway. Will he get on the freeway? Oh, who knows? Looks like he wants to make a turn. That looks like that would have taken him into Union Station. Maybe he's trying to make a plan to maybe get into a parking garage. We've seen him in the past, but with those officers so close by, that road basically pushing him back onto the 101 freeway. Now we're on the 101 freeway northbound, just in the downtown area. A lot of traffic. We're going to keep an eye on him up here.
Picked up speed
and it's starting to really move up speed again. But look, a little fishtailing right there on the freeway. So he was hitting that brake hard right there and steering. So passing Alameda right now, 101 northbound, LAPD in pursuit, helicopter overhead, not just us, but LAPD.
Yeah,
and look at the traffic this afternoon.
Yeah, Crystal was right. That traffic is it's literally stop and go in that area. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what he does, and he just. What is that?
He's going.
Oh, he's going the wrong way.
He's getting on. He's going off on an on-ramp out here.
Dangerous.
LAPD, you saw them, they had their doors open. They were that ready to do this. Look at these people.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
just getting on the freeway and probably going, what is going on here? Back onto Alameda, we're right in front of Union Station, again with the high speeds, and officers are staying right behind them. They must have some information about this person that makes this a wanted driver.
Yeah. Indeed.
That was an interesting move. He saw that the traffic was about to get very thick on the 101 North and decided, well, I'm just going to hop off on the wrong way. On the on-ramp, he hopped off.
Yeah, it's a desperate move.
Desperate, indeed. That's a great word for that move.
There he is.
It's just amazing how many chances this person has been taking all afternoon. Thank goodness we haven't seen him make contact with any other vehicles. Working his way back through Chinatown, a lot of traffic. Looks like we're heading back the direction that we were. We were on College there a few moments ago. This is Broadway through downtown Chinatown. So this is an area that everybody knows is pretty packed. There's a lot of foot traffic out here, a lot of pedestrians. Thank goodness we're not seeing anybody out in the roadway and starting to make these faster moves again, higher speeds, northbound on Broadway, basically going back the direction we came from.
Yeah, this person is. It sounds like he's just confused as to where to go. I think one thing on his mind is just to get away, and we'll do anything he can to get away.
And you just saw on the right side of your screen moments ago, he hopped off the 101. But when he hopped off onto the on-ramp. Yeah. So you can see some traffic right there looking, probably going, what in the heck is going on here?
Right. Stu, where did this pursuit originate?
Well, the original spots where we heard it was in the area of the, well, look at this.
Oh,
of the 2 and the 5. This was the area, 2 and the 5 is where we originally heard it.
Okay.
So it's over there in that general area. But it got on the 2 freeway very quickly. It got off the got on the 210 for a moment or two. We heard the vehicle actually spun out at one time, and we thought the pursuit may have actually been over. But he continued on, and with this type of driving, amazing we haven't seen another spin out. We did see a little bit of a fishtail earlier on. This vehicle will get some street names for you. Is making another sharp turn. Oh, a little tight right there. But obviously was on Broadway, and now we're up in the Boyle Heights area, and now we're working our way basically in an eastern direction, and it looks like we're getting back into, nope, it's the same type of neighborhood. It's a little bit residential, a little bit of commercial, and the streets, they're 4 lanes, so that's a huge plus. But there's no center lane that this guy seems to be really using a lot. So if there's traffic and he gets boxed in, I'm really curious to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, indeed. In case you're just joining us, you were watching breaking news, a dangerous pursuit in progress right now. It started in the Glendale area. Stu mentioned between the two, perhaps they picked up the call somewhere around the 2 freeway and the 5 freeway. This pursuit went through Glendale, downtown LA. It is now in Boyle Heights. This driver, possibly 3 people in that car, possibly robbery suspects. They have been driving erratically at very, very high speeds.
Yeah, and you used a great word. You said some of these moves are desperate. They definitely are trying to run away from the cops, but the officers, they've done a great job of staying right behind
a lot of traffic,
them.
A lot of traffic.
Ooh, oh, narrowly missed that red car. And onto the sidewalk.
Just
Yeah,
he went through.
We've seen this guy driving on the wrong side of the street, making very erratic moves, driving very fast. Oh, and right there you almost saw him kind of make contact with that bus.
Southbound Mission from Daly.
I'm getting some information that the primary unit in pursuit of this vehicle is from the Northeast Division.
Northeast.
Yeah.
That is correct, Sharon. And Northeast has been on it from the get-go. I didn't want to start saying divisions because sometimes I get the frowny face from management when I start just using the division names. LAPD, it is Northeast Division. That's the area where it started. They're on southbound Mission, making that sharp turn right there. Back onto Cesar Chavez right now. So he's not staying in any neighborhood. We haven't been in this neighborhood before. We didn't hear this neighborhood earlier on.
It's wide open, too.
We always kind of wondered. Almost right there. But he's staying on Cesar Chavez right now. We're in the area of, we're not exactly next to, but we're in the area of USC Medical. This vehicle continues to elude officers just by moving quickly. The LAPD, though, that's the thing. Elude might not really be the word because they're right there behind him. They're not.
Yeah. Okay. We just seem to have lost Stu Mundell. You're watching a very dangerous pursuit happening. It's been happening for quite some time now. You see that white car? Apparently, there may be 3 occupants inside. They may be robbery suspects, and LAPD is in hot pursuit. These guys are making extremely dangerous moves. They're going at very high speeds.
Yeah, and apparently this started off the 5 and the 2. You can see right there, this driver has been sometimes on the wrong side of the road. It looks like he's getting onto the freeway. Is that the freeway right there that he's getting onto?
Back onto the freeway.
Okay.
Definitely back on.
Seriously, he doesn't know where he's going. He's just driving just to get away.
Well, you probably, we don't know. That's the deal. We don't know. Getting off the freeway right now. He was on the 5 just for a second. It looks like it was just a convenience, Basically, he had that opportunity to make that turn. There was no traffic right there. Exiting 4th Street, we're making that turn onto 4th Street. So now we're heading back westbound, so heading back towards downtown. So we haven't seen him in the downtown area yet. Probably a plus because it's going to get even more dense with the buildings and folks. Another solid red light passing Boyle right there. This vehicle continuing, slowing down. And this is what we've seen. That's the only pattern, if there is patterns to be seen, is that moving fast, moving slow.
Right.
That's the only thing we've seen. We're back into another neighborhood area, but we're going to be getting very commercial here shortly. You can see LAPD right there behind him, the helicopter overhead the entire time. time. LAPD, as you said, Northeast Division, right there behind him from the inception of this pursuit. I'm really curious if this was some sort of undercover where they were watching this vehicle, because they're saying 211 suspect, and that means robbery. But we don't know armed. We don't know if it's residential. We don't know if there was violence involved. We do understand possibly 2 other folks inside that vehicle. With those tinted windows, it's another question. How did LAPD know that? Did they see these people get into that vehicle? So those type of questions are what's on my mind right now. And just making our way over the 4th Street Bridge, working our way into downtown, and heavier traffic.
And a question that I have is whether that's even their vehicle. They may have stolen it. Who knows?
Well, then it might have said that might have been a carjacking, but of course, who knows? Who knows? This person definitely driving like he stole it. There's no doubt about that. Still westbound 4th Street, and we've seen they've been very wide open, coming up to another major right there. You can see officers out there, possibly spike strips, possibly. I can't say for sure.
Okay, this would be a good area because it's wide open, very little traffic.
Yep.
Or a pit maneuver if they can get up close to them. I don't know.
Now we're picking up some speed here.
Picking up some speed again, and making another hard turn right there, and starting to skid. Though they actually had an officer waiting at the corner of 4th and Alameda with the spike strips. So if he was able to deploy them, they were deployed. I'm unclear on that right now. We're going to keep an eye on those tires. We're going to keep an eye on the maneuverability of that vehicle, making some unusual turns right there. But we're still making our way closer and closer into the downtown area with where all the buildings are. Stuff coming out of the car right there. A lot of stuff.
They're throwing things out of the car.
See, papers.
Yes, and that
clothing. It looks like clothing.
It looked like clothing, maybe a bag or two, some more stuff going out that window. So that indicates that there are some people in the back portion of that vehicle. So this might be part of what the robbery was involved in. Maybe it was a residential robbery. But right now, or burglary in that case. But right now, stuff continuing to fall, being thrown. Nothing's falling out of that car, being thrown out of that vehicle. And they actually have to go and pick up all of that stuff. Now, is that going to be the vehicles in pursuit? No. There's going to be other ones.
Oh, there's a guy on a
very
bicycle
crowded area.
Did you see the
very crowded.
The pedestrians. Oh.
And it just continues on.
Yeah. Where? Give us a location. Where are we?
Southbound Los Angeles. We're southbound Los Angeles Street in the downtown Los Angeles area. Did get that cross you right there.
Someone on a wheelchair.
Yep,
Crossing the street.
Right there at the cross of 6th, but he did slow down for that. Now, officers from LAPD, they're going to have to go pick up all those items, or try to. You can see that, officers right there behind him, they didn't slow down. But other officers will be the ones that are going to collect those items that are being tossed out of the vehicle.
It's interesting to see him slow down through when the traffic gets thick. He does slow down instead of just barrel through, which is good. He's not causing any accidents so far, but here he is, inching his way through traffic.
Well, he's definitely not slowing down enough. I can guarantee you that. We've seen this car fishtail a bunch of times, and this could be the demise of this chase. If he makes a sharp turn somewhere and fishtails hits another vehicle, that might bring this to an end. We're now on 7th Street. Near San Pedro Street. I don't know if we just crossed it or are about to cross it, but we're on 7th. Right now, the vehicle picking up speed again. I should stay a little bit wider just in case something else is in front of it. But you can see LAPD still right behind this vehicle. We did see some stuff coming out of the car. That's not gonna bring anything to an end. I can tell you that. These people in the car, they are gonna wind up in cuffs. Hopefully that's where they're gonna wind up and not in a hospital or worse. Approaching Central right now. It does look like he's gonna make a turn, making a nice sharp turn there on northbound Central. And this pursuit continues. It's been going for some time. LAPD, they've been right behind him the entire time, in the air, on the ground, lights and sirens, trying to keep the public safe. So far, no incidents, no accidents.
Fortunately,
but this pursuit, every intersection seems like we're getting that much closer to a problem.
Stu,
it's making a series of turns, erratic turns.
Our producer just said the tires look really still inflated. Did the driver go over a set of spike strips? I'm not sure if
all we knew, look at the
that
guy on a
bicycle.
bike right there, on a trike. He's getting out of the way for the officers. The only thing we know is that there was an attempt at spike strips at that one intersection, Avalon and 4th, right at the end of the bridge. Don't know. We saw the vehicle. I saw the SUV, the officer's SUV door, the back open. Not sure if he had time, but there was a possibility that that's where they were going to do it. As far as the tires go, if they hit spike strips, I agree with the producer, 100%. We would be seeing some flat tires by now.
And some slowing down.
Yeah.
And this driver shows
Clearly
no
not.
signs of slowing down, going on the wrong other side of the street. Oh, such a dangerous situation here.
and then going through an intersection, just barreling through.
We have another intersection right there. That was San Pedro right there.
Close calls.
A lot of cross traffic right there. I was at Wall Street. You got pedestrians out here. Like I said, the closer we get to the downtown area, the more we're going to see pedestrians, the more we're going to see folks on bikes, maybe some disabled folks trying to get through intersections. Approaching Los Angeles right now. That's the name of the street. We're in Los Angeles. A lot of cross traffic. That's what I heard. Looks like we're going to make a southbound turn on a one-way street.
Ooh. Oh, no.
LAPD still following this vehicle. There's another person on a bicycle right there. And he's making his way again, west turn, and we're still working our way pretty quickly out here. This is going to be a numbered street. Looks like we're going to be heading north again. Right turn on Broadway.
Do you think this
very, very dangerous.
Do you think this guy is
Go ahead,
trying
go
to
ahead.
find the entrance to the free? Oh, wait, they've just. Oh, it looks like they were going to stop, but there's no sign of them stopping. They're
No, he's just trying to get around some obstacles.
Yeah, getting around.
A lot of traffic down there at that intersection. We can get, and we got folks down there on the ground.
Oh, it looks like he might be.
Up there he goes.
Oh, nope.
He's underneath us.
Yeah. Do you think he's trying to find the entrance to the freeway, or do you think he's just driving around
a lot of
downtown?
traffic.
Oh, here we are.
Oh!
Several close calls.
And the streets are a lot tighter around, obviously, downtown.
Super tight out here, and with these high speeds, it's just going to get worse and worse. LAPD, though, they really just want to bring this thing to an end. Look, pedestrians.
He slows for them. That's.
And we got some blockage going on up here. This might be where they bring it. Nope, they didn't. There's a truck over there doing some loading. Eastbound 6th Street is where we are right now. So basically heading back the other direction. We just crossed Broadway at 6th and we're heading eastbound. Now we're dropping south again. So it does appear that he's starting to make some blocks out here. Hopefully he didn't see a spot where he might think that he can get out, but it's definitely slowing down once again. We're moving Sky 9 around as quick as we can. And again, this is one of those situations where it seems like we're not moving quickly. We are. It's just the physics of what we're looking at. Getting blocked in, and traffic getting thicker. This was not a good choice. And it looks like somebody actually getting out of his way. And there we go. And now at least he's got at least there's less traffic out here as you start to open up again a little bit. But we're getting closer to Olympic as we're making our way southbound. I believe we're still on Los Angeles again. Making another sharp turn now back over to the east.
He's literally
7th
driving
Street.
in circles around downtown LA.
Running in circles, definitely.
Yeah, just desperation, not knowing what to do, but just to drive.
And traffic's getting thicker. We've seen pedestrians.
The more he stays in this area, it's just going to get more and more dangerous. I just worry about all those other folks that are out there on the ground right now. Whoa! Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a pedestrian.
You mistook the traffic light as a person.
It was a
I know.
I thought it was.
I thought the same thing.
Back moving southbound once again. So this chase continuing in the downtown Los Angeles area. Very dangerous suspects because the officers from LAPD not letting this go. We've seen this in the past where they'll just basically go into tracking mode and just drop off the officers, meaning the ground units. He just continues to weave his way around these buildings out here. Northbound on Main right now in the downtown area. I believe that was 7th or 8th Street that he was on just a moment ago. Northbound Main, though, again, just the streets are so packed out here. in the downtown Los Angeles area. LAPD doing an amazing job.
They really are.
Staying with that vehicle and just, that just enough distance. A hard turn there.
I'm surprised that I'm surprised his car didn't flip. He made that turn pretty quickly.
He did make that turn sharp, and now going right by another officer from LAPD. And now back southbound again. The newer SUVs, they have a lot of controls in them to help them. Looks like heavy traffic on this street. This would definitely seem to be in the in the actual. We're very close to the what is this? The fashion area, or where they have
fashion
the
district?
garment
This guy's
district.
waving his hands.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of traffic out here. This might be an opportunity
to end this.
Look at
that. There's no
So
place to go but to climb out and run if these guys are thinking
Get out
straight.
and surrender.
And that might be his only option. LAPD might be taking advantage of this. There's no place to go.
No place
there
to go.
are a lot of civilians out there. There's a lot of other people on the streets. So using weapons is going to be very difficult. Trying to push his way through.
Wow.
This is one of the times where the lights and sirens, people are obeying the law. They're moving over to the right. That may actually be causing an opening for that suspect.
Well, I see
and in the end, that might be a good thing.
Yeah, I see the driver or
Sure.
the person in the back seat has
Getting
the window.
antsy.
Yeah, the windows rolled down and basically trying to wave the truck in front of him away, asking him to move aside so he can get through. But now it looks like they're just sitting ducks. They literally are sitting ducks.
Yeah.
Can you imagine this driver of this box truck? He can hear those sirens.
That's the thing. He's got one of those moments. It's like he doesn't know that there's a pursuit going on. All he knows is that he's hearing lights and sirens. So he's probably doing the right thing. He's going to keep on
He's
moving
obeying
and
the
maybe
law,
move
just
over to
moving
the
over,
right.
moving to the right.
He's obeying the law.
And you see these folks walking
Box
down
truck
the
is starting
street.
to move.
Pulling
Oh.
over.
Amazing
There you
that
Incredible.
again, nobody's been hurt.
Yeah.
We thought that would be the opportunity right there for officers.
Whoa! I don't know what that was all about. That may have
That
actually been
unit,
an officer's
469,
bicycle.
has really been on this guy.
One time.
That guy for sure.
For
we never
sure,
want to poke
yeah,
any kind
he
of
is
fun
not
at
gonna let
any
him
kind of
go.
thing like that. But if he gets a gold star next to his name, he deserved it by the end of the shift.
Indeed.
Making another left turn out there. The streets are starting to open up a little bit, but this is an area where there's a lot of homeless out here, a lot of pedestrians. You can see a lot of those folks there on the
It's a mission
sidewalk.
right there.
So there's going to be a lot more. Yes, there's
downtown
a
LA
lot
mission.
more. Yep, there's a lot, but there's a lot more folks out here on the on the sidewalks. And if he hits a car, that's one thing. If he hits a pedestrian, that's going to be something entirely different. Cross traffic, a lot of cross traffic.
Yeah, this driver's just been driving erratically. Stu says this started around off the 5 and the 2. Started around, what would you say, Stu, 3:45? How long would you say this guy's
seems like
been
almost
moving?
an eternity.
Yeah, it
movement.
does seem like
it seems
that.
like forever we've been following this.
Oh, right.
Just round and round, huh?
Making, and you know what? It's all these close calls. It's all that those moments where you're just like, no. Like right now, pedestrians running out of the way, and it just makes this so tense and so it's just one of those things. We watch them, but you just don't want to see anything bad happen, and it's just coming so close so often.
Yeah,
Here's a
this is
pedestrian right there. Oh my goodness.
This is a tense situation here.
And he's going the wrong way.
Santee at Olympic, that's where we are right now. If anybody is keeping track of this stuff, he's staying in a very, very crowded area, and it's already proven to almost bringing this to an end. Going through a busy intersection, solid red light right there, making our way over towards the convention center. But now we're going northbound again on Broadway. So this is continuing in the downtown area. Officers from LAPD on the ground, in the air, and staying right behind that vehicle. Sky 9 is going to move those buildings out of the way very conveniently for us as he's continuing northbound on Broadway. Every intersection, though, you just got to stay on it because it looks like it's just random. He's just taking this turn, that turn, and sometimes he puts himself in these spots where you think it's going to come to an end. Is LAPD taking any other measures to bring this to an end? Yes, of course they are. car. But how do you get in front of this? How do you get in front of a vehicle where it's just making all these random turns?
That's the big question. I mean, and what could be going through this guy's mind? Where does he think he's going to end up? Certainly he's not trying to make it on the freeway. Jail, hopefully, right, because he's in the vicinity of the LA Men's Central Jail. But what could he be thinking? Where could he be wanting to go?
And we know they're desperate because they've been driving so erratically. And then at points, to remember, they were throwing out clothes or items.
Yep. Items of that vehicle. You know, sometimes we give these suspects more credit than maybe they deserve. You know, like a plan, an idea. You know, this is just random moves, random acts, and he's just trying to stay away from the officers. That's it. He's trying to stay out of jail. Maybe they're just relishing their last couple of minutes inside that vehicle, not in cuffs, and hopefully not in a hospital. And more so, hopefully not injuring somebody on the streets. And he's come so close to so many this afternoon. There's probably a lot of people that are probably going to be going home saying, I saw this person just cut me off at high speeds or drive the wrong way on the freeway today.
Yeah.
Back onto Figueroa, looks like we're going to be going northbound on Figueroa. So we are getting closer. And it looks like we're going to be going back again the way we came. So we're going to be heading eastbound once again. So off of Figueroa, I'm not sure if what street that's going to be. Maybe a numbered street. There he goes. Even the police helicopter momentarily loses this vehicle, getting the information from the guys on the ground. Making another turn to the south. So now basically just doing blocks. That was Wilshire, was on southbound Flower from Wilshire. And it looks like just doing blocks right now.
Yeah.
Maybe he saw something. Maybe he saw like a parking garage. Go ahead.
Do hold that thought. In case you're just joining us, you're watching breaking news here on KCAL 9 News at 4 o'clock and CBS 2 News. We are simulcasting a pursuit that's been going on for about an hour or so, a dangerous pursuit, a high-speed pursuit. Now it's in the downtown LA area. Apparently there might be 3 suspects in the car in that white SUV. They're possibly robbery suspects. We do not know whether they're armed, but they have been driving at very dangerous speeds. They have been making very erratic moves. They are desperate to get away from police at this time. LAPD is in hot pursuit of these guys.
At sometimes we've seen them put down some spike strips, but we don't know if that has actually worked. Let's see. Stu, do you see
Stu, where are they now?
Yeah.
They've actually got across onto the west side of the 110 freeway. I think that's Bixel. I'm pretty sure that's Bixel.
Okay.
Now working his way back onto 7th Street. So we're basically working our way back into the downtown area. Wilshire Grand right there in the shot. So it's getting kind of difficult. These bigger buildings making it difficult to keep an eye on where that vehicle.
Okay, we seem to have lost Stu. All right, you are watching breaking news. This pursuit is never ending. And we are picking it up again, a Sky 9 shot. You see a number of LAPD units in pursuit of that SUV there. It has been driving erratically. It has been driving dangerously all over downtown LA. LAPD in pursuit of 3 robbery suspects, possibly 3, in that car, possibly armed. We haven't been able to confirm that. They have been throwing things out of the car as they're driving around downtown in circles.
And the driver sometimes barreling through these intersections, not stopping. We've seen pedestrians on bicycles. We've seen people in their wheelchairs. We've seen at one point it looked like the driver was going to get boxed in the Fashion District, but that didn't happen because drivers were actually moving out of the way, and possibly because they heard those
lights and
sirens and thinking, okay, I need to move for the officer, not knowing that a pursuit was right behind them. And so now we're back on it. Stu, where are we now?
We're southbound. I believe this is going to be Flower, and we just passed 8th Street. And it's in downtown Los Angeles. That's where we are. Another hard turn, making a turn off to the east. We'll get this the numbered street here in just a second. It's slowing down a little bit again, but don't know why. That's the thing. Now we're going against traffic one more time. So this is going to be a one-way street, getting very close to one of the vehicles out there. But we're going northbound on a southbound only. This is a one-way street right here. Now he's correcting his. That was on Grand, and now we're making our way back onto, I believe this is going to be 7th Street. Now, northbound back onto Broadway, or
Yeah, clearly this person does
this
not know
pursuit
where he's
continuing
going.
in the downtown area.
Yeah, I wonder. Again, hard to say what these guys are thinking, but
Westbound.
they are literally driving in circles around downtown.
We did see them try to get on the freeway a couple times, but then it looks like the driver thought that was a bad idea because the
in that
101
area, it's
North is
packed.
going to get
congested.
extremely busy with
There it's southbound. I don't know where, though. There he is. Southbound right now. There he goes. When he gets behind those buildings, it gets very difficult to keep an eye on him. So we always we gotta rely on just visual aids, looking out the window. I just want to give just real quick. My pilot Brennan this afternoon. Every now and then when you lose our signal, that's usually because of the maneuvers the helicopters are making. We lose our signal, and that's because it doesn't seem like it. But Brennan doing an amazing job keeping the helicopter safe, but maneuvering quite a bit this afternoon as we make these turns, trying to keep an eye on this vehicle as he's making his way through the downtown area. Just want to throw that out there. Difficult, not so difficult for me to run that camera and keep an eye on it, but Brendan's got to actually move the helicopter and follow this thing around, and then also think about where he's going and how these buildings are going to affect us. So doing an amazing job this afternoon for sure. That suspects inside that vehicle. You know what? I'm not going to give them any props at all. It is amazing that they haven't hit anybody this afternoon. They continue to drive erratically, high speeds, dangerous maneuvers, lots of pedestrians out here in the downtown area, and that doesn't seem to faze this person at all. Robbery suspects, that's all we know. Was it a residential robbery? Not sure, but LAPD's been in pursuit of these folks since almost the inception of that crime, so they may have been being watched. Right now, they do know that these are very dangerous suspects. Otherwise, they might have done a different tactic. They might have just gone into a tracking mode, or they may have, or maybe they were known suspects and they would have picked them up someplace else. The LAPD, there's a car coming right at them down there. And right now, in the downtown area, extremely dangerous maneuvers, packed streets, going the wrong way. Can't even count how many times he's made that maneuver. And right now, northbound Broadway, passing 6th Street, heading back out towards down towards the courthouse and etc. But right now, these streets are packed.
Yeah,
And,
when you say the streets are packed, the streets are packed because a lot of people are getting out of work, getting ready to get out of work at this hour. So you'll expect to see more traffic and a lot more pedestrian traffic in the next 20 minutes or so.
especially around downtown when a lot of people,
When
might
the court's let out or
walk or
He's right
take the bus to work or whatnot. You got to wonder, at what point does the driver just go, gosh, this is getting tiresome, circle, 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 wrong way, officers on his back. I mean, you would think that he would go, okay, this is just not working out.
Yeah, let's just give up. Easier said than done.
It looks like the window has rolled back
on
up.
Los Angeles. The driver's window was down just for a hot second. He just had it down for a moment and it went right back up. Southbound Los Angeles streets where we are, downtown Los Angeles area, got heavy cross traffic right there, and pedestrians walking across the street. How many times have we seen that?
Yeah.
Of course, they're seeing this car barreling down on them and lights and sirens. They need to get out of the way. Right now, though, that suspect continues to keep the officers just at bay. Looks like we're making another turn. Looks like we're going to be heading westbound 7th from Los Angeles. So heading back into that very thick downtown Los Angeles area again, squeezing his way through, trying to get out onto that major streets and continuing on past Main, and now on the wrong side of the road because there's traffic. And there's going to be a lot of traffic. Working his way through another intersection, keeping an eye on which way he turns through Spring. So he's continuing on. There he is. And this just keeps going and going and going.
Downtown's got to be one of the worst places to try to pull these maneuvers because of the one-way streets, the traffic, and the people. Very dangerous.
What do
we have here?
It's a pickup. It's a work truck.
Oh, that's the first time we've seen him actually hit a vehicle. And the only reason I know that, the alarm went off on the van. So he just basically bumped into that van right there. So that's the first time we've seen him make contact with a vehicle. Obviously, you know, I was telling you, saying how Brendan's been working so hard keeping up with this. That driver down there may actually be starting to deal with some fatigue as well, and that could also cause some other problems. He might become less alert. It looks like there's a lot of traffic right there. Continuing northbound on Main from 6. I saw a lot of traffic down there. If he would have taken that street, he would have basically put himself back in that same spot.
Isn't that the
northbound Main?
Isn't that the area of the jewelry
district? You see some
district?
officers right there?
There you see.
Yes, officers right there with some spike strips. Not sure if they was successful, but they definitely had some ready. They tossed them out. Do not know if they made contact.
Wow, this is a tough one.
Here's some officers right here. Looks like trying
some
to.
more spikes.
You saw that? You see that?
They tried.
Yep. So they're making every effort, and you know, in the downtown area, the blocks are a little bit smaller. We know that for a fact because we've been watching it. So it gives the officers a little bit more of an opportunity to randomly get ahead of this vehicle. Not sure if any of those spike strips made any contact, but you can see him actually speeding up. So he's realizing that they're making an effort to bring this thing to an end.
Yeah.
Approaching First Street, higher speeds up here. If he has low tires, it's going to be difficult. Blending in right there, I think that's going to be, I'm not sure. First Street, making a First Street. So eastbound First Street and speeding up and making just higher speeds. If he's got lower tires, I'm just hoping this thing does not end in a tragedy.
Yeah. The First Street, where does it take us in the direction that he's going?
Well, if he follows it, it'll take us out towards, right now we just passed San Pedro Street, really tight. Okay. Alameda would be a major, but we're heading back out towards the Boyle Heights area, out of the downtown Los Angeles area. But this driver getting a little agitated. Did not like those spike strips being tossed out in front of him. Yeah. Coming up on Alameda right now, very hard turn, very hard sweeping turn, and a lot of traffic. And kind of jammed in here. Don't know what his thoughts are right there, but going against traffic, northbound and the southbound lanes on Alameda. Alameda also. I mean, we just should just throw a blanket.
And
all streets very busy out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now very much on the wrong side of the road, making a left turn right there on Temple. Oh my goodness, this thing just keeps going and going.
This is dizzying.
And you know. Seems like a lot of the streets out here now have a lot of traffic stopped at the lights, which just a lot of cross traffic, trying to blend in, swerving a little bit, and that kind of shows you too. We haven't seen that vehicle swerving. Back on Los Angeles Street, passing the 110 freeway. So we're basically heading back. Up, nope, we're getting onto the freeway.
Oh, this should be interesting with traffic.
Yeah.
Which freeway are we getting on? The 110?
This is going to be the 101, 110. I think this is the 110.
Okay.
101 freeway.
So
101
the
101,
110 interchange is in that area. It's going to be, look at that.
Yes.
You see
It'll
the traffic?
get busy.
Yeah, it's going to get congested.
Very.
He's trying to...
The four level is going to get very congested, and a lot of folks out here. You know, everybody's trying to get where they want to go. So it does get a little bit pushy in this area, politely pushy. We're all LA folks. But this vehicle, you know, he's more than aggressive, and really picking up those speeds. Looks like he's in that gore point. Not sure where he's going to go. It looks like he's going over some curbs right there, which probably not. Staying on the 101 freeway, but probably, you know, hitting those curbs, that might cause some tire issues as well. Hopefully he's going to get some flat tires and it's just going to bring this thing to an end. Right now, though, 101 freeway, the direction he's heading right now, not so bad. If we make it to Hollywood, it's going to be stop and go, and it's going to give him some unusual options. Looks like he's doing a lot of maneuvering out here, and he doesn't seem to stay on the freeway, so I'm guessing possibly off at Echo Park. We'll see here. Right now, 101 northbound heading into the Hollywood area. Right now, Echo Park, and high speeds on the freeway, and the
Are the officers
they,
close by or a little?
They are, and one of the officers off of Alvarado, high speeds, fishtailing a little bit, and
Where's he going?
There he goes, on to Bellevue. One of the officer that we've been watching, that's been doing such an awesome job, running out of fuel.
Oh, wow. So I wonder if
Northbound
this
on
car's
Glendale. So
going to run out of fuel anytime
yeah,
soon.
It depends what he started with. But right now they're actually asking to get another unit that has a light bar, meaning the lights on top of the vehicle to get behind this thing once again. It's a red light, but he actually has got a lot of distance between him and the officers, which isn't so good, because now these folks on the ground down there, they don't have the benefit of the lights and sirens. They don't have the benefits of the sirens coming and being alerted. So making some really hard turns out here right around Echo Park, but you can see using every out available to him, and right in front of a bus. And it looks like we're going to be northbound, and I think we're on Echo Park northbound.
Incredible, incredible. Just
whoa,
whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, he's crashed into a business.
He crashed
Into a bus stop.
That guy didn't even open the door.
Oh, and now he's
right
out. A bus
right
stop.
out there.
Two people
He's out.
hopped out.
Oh, no,
Oh,
don't
he's trying
try
to
that. Don't try
go.
that.
Now he's running. There
we
you see
go. We're
police
on
officer on
Sunset.
foot in pursuit, a number of them.
Okay.
They're running after
And
the
this
guy in
guy's
the blue
still
jeans.
trying to outrun the officers. And that's going to be the end of it right there.
That's
Oh,
it.
all of a
Don't
sudden you
tackle
want to
him.
play nice. There you go, onto the
There you
ground.
go. They got
That
one.
is the driver. They got one, and that's the most important right there. That was the driver. That was the one they really, really wanted. Sunset near Echo Park. The vehicle basically, it was a ghost pit maneuver. Just kind of lost control on its own, crashed into a bus stop. Thank goodness nobody was there.
Yeah, thank
Officers
goodness.
right there. They're clearing the vehicle. The other folks out on foot. We're going to try to listen in, see if we can find these where the other ones ran to. Right now, though, the main suspect in the custody. But wow, what a crazy end to that pursuit. And he did make contact with another vehicle. I'm being corrected. He did hit another car, and that's where he
see it
lost
right
control and crashed into that bus.
Yeah, it's that burgundy car right there, right in the middle of the street.
So,
Wow.
and,
In case,
so officers from LAPD, they may be setting up a perimeter, but that.
there are a
but,
number
the-
of
the main
businesses.
suspect.
There are a number of businesses in that area that these guys could have run into. So you're right, Stu. They're gonna create a perimeter, and they're going to conduct a search, an intense search for these guys.
And we at first thought it was possibly 3 people in the car, but I saw 2 people hop out, so maybe there's a third that ran away as well. We just didn't see the third person.
He could have hopped out on the,
The
other side.
But the way it looked like the SUV crashed, the door might have been pinned. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that was
Yeah.
you called that
Incredible.
a ghost pit maneuver, right, Stu?
It was not a pit maneuver. It was not a pit maneuver. He made contact with another vehicle.
Yeah.
At first, I thought he just kind of swerved and lost control on his own, but he did make contact with another vehicle. That right there underneath the tree, of course, because it's my shot. The second suspect in custody. But now we're hearing that there were only 2 people in the vehicle. They're saying that officers on the ground calling it a code 4, but this is a very fluid situation. That might change up. They have 2 suspects in custody. Got one suspect in custody there. The driver we saw being tackled and taken into custody a little bit farther south. So they have 2 in custody. Officers on the ground working this out right now, but they believe that they have everybody that was in the vehicle in custody right now, coming to a crashing end. Thank goodness nobody on the ground hurt down there at the corner of Echo Park and Sunset. When that vehicle hit another car, may have lost control and hit another car. All that'll come out in the wash, but it definitely went into a bus stop. Thank goodness nobody at that bus stop.
Indeed. No,
But they
thank
are
goodness.
definitely wrapping this up.
Wow, what a series of events.
Incredible.
This
No
has
one
been
was
one
hurt.
of the. I think this has been one of the more intense pursuits we've covered. Indeed. In case you're watching, you are watching the end of a pursuit. Thank goodness for that, because this was a dangerous one. This started possibly around, what, 3:45, or
yeah.
like maybe an hour ago? In the
La Crescenta,
vicinity.
Glendale area, the 5 and the 2.
Yeah, along there, that's where Stu Mundell picked it up. That white car there with 2 people inside, robbery suspects, took LAPD for a ride all the way around the Southland, well, but mainly downtown LA, through Glendale,
Elysian Park.
Elysian Park, down, and then finally ending at downtown LA. at the corner of Sunset and Echo Park. Insane, and thank goodness no one was hurt because this driver was driving so dangerously, narrowly missing pedestrians, sideswiping a car or two.
Looked like a bus at one point he might have even hit.
Yeah, and at a high rate of speed.
To take over another vehicle.
He
And
did.
tried to carjack
that car right
that.
there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah, Sharon, I think at one point
And
you even
it
said
just shows you those locking doors. It is, you know, sometimes my friends make jokes about it, but you know, if your door's locked when you put it in drive, it's a good thing. Trust me. It helped that driver right there. Right now, though, they are saying 2 people in custody. They are saying code 4, but they are closing down at least Echo Park, the street Echo Park here at Sunset for all the police activity. But they'll probably move this down. Sunset is going to be reopened. They're saying 2 in custody. Unsure if there may still be 1 outstanding.
But it's a code 4, right, Stu?
But and they recovered 1 gun. They recovered one gun.
Okay, they got one.
They did recover a weapon.
Okay.
They did recover a weapon. So that shows you also that was one of the reasons why very dangerous suspect, and they had to stay with it. They had to follow this to the end. They had to stay in pursuit because, you know, an armed suspect and possibly the LAPD, they know a lot more about what's going on than we do. And they had their reasons. And thank goodness nobody really hurt this afternoon. An armed suspect off the streets. And thank goodness nobody hurt in this crash.
It'll be interesting if we do find out what they were throwing from the car, because we saw at one point lots of things being thrown from the car.
It could have been items that they had stolen if they were robbery suspects.
And this pursuit ending right here. The driver crashed into a bus stop. Thankfully, nobody's sitting on the bus stop. We're reaching the 5 o'clock hour. A lot of people getting out of work.
I wonder how the people in that car are doing. The one in the burgundy-colored car.
If there's damage to that vehicle, hopefully it'll be minor damage. We'll move the helicopter around, get a better look at it. You got the rear bumper knocked off. Did you see that driver, though? I don't know how he pulled that off. He jumped out of the driver's side window after the accident. It was the most bizarre thing that I'd seen in a long time for a pursuit. Just, you know, how do you maneuver your way out the driver's side window like that? The door could have opened, but he chose to jump out. It does appear he rear-ended a vehicle, and that's what sent him into that bus stop. As we're making our way around now, we can see more damage on there. They're probably going to call for an ambulance, but it doesn't seem like any serious injuries out here.
And Stu, at this point, officers, do they just talk to all of the witnesses? What do they normally do in your experience at this point?
They exactly what you said. They will talk to the folks that are here at the end. Of course, the people inside that burgundy vehicle, they are going to call an ambulance just to make sure that they are okay. Possibly they will be taken to the hospital to be checked out. This lady right there, they're probably just going to talk to her, get her statement, get her name, because they might need her later on because of the attempt carjacking. That person did try that door. 1 weapon was recovered. Not sure if it was on that person or in that vehicle, but they're definitely going to talk to her and get her information. Some crime tape going up. Hopefully they'll open up Sunset Boulevard here shortly because Sunset does get busy. Echo Park Boulevard out here, not a major throughway, so it probably won't be a traffic issue, but this is going to be a crime scene for quite some time. 2 in custody, that's what we know. And they are saying that they're calling this code 4, meaning it's over. So they might not be looking for a third person. I just want, for my own peace of mind, I want to know if there was a third person. Looks like there's another vehicle that was involved right there. The driver's side door popped open. That might have been what caused all this. There you go. So a driver's side door tore apart. So he hit that driver's side door. Somebody trying to get out. That door's not going to close, sir. Yeah. And then losing control, hitting that vehicle, and then ending up in that bus stop. Thank goodness there was nobody on that sidewalk.
And Stu, we have some video from earlier that our viewers can see right here. You can see at points it got very sticky for this driver and other drivers on the road as this guy was at one point almost hit a red car right there, driving on sidewalks, driving on the opposite side of the road. And this started about 3:45, we believe, up in the Glendale area, and it made its way all the way down here to Echo Park. Officers, at one point you see right here, looked like he almost possibly crashed into a bus. Did not.
A school bus, in fact, sideswiping a couple of cars. Look at that. The fancy footwork on this, with this car is incredible. Going at very high rates of speed, narrowly missing pedestrians, people in wheelchairs. Crossing crosswalks.
4 months, so a pregnant woman in the burgundy vehicle.
So
Yeah.
we're getting that word from
Yeah,
Stu Mundell that there was a pregnant woman in that burgundy vehicle. Do we know how she's doing? Is she okay?
I'm hoping that she's okay.
Oh.
I'm sure we're going to see an ambulance here shortly. If not in just a few moments. I'm pretty sure there's a fire station right down the street. So there you go. Some of the first responders from LA City Fire, the paramedics will be here shortly. The first person they're going to talk to is probably going to be that pregnant woman. This woman, she might just be shooken up. It might have been just a very scary experience. Thank goodness that door was locked. If that door wasn't locked, things could have really changed up quickly. Again, not confirmed. We're trying to. It's a very, very fluid situation. We're trying to sort this all out and confirm before we blurt. But we do see that that vehicle, apparently somebody trying to get out or maybe trying to get in. And that door was definitely open when that contact happened, and that's what brought this thing to an end here on Echo Park Boulevard near Sunset. You can see that car right into the bus stop. Thank goodness nobody on the sidewalk, nobody in the bus stop. Believe that that is the woman from the burgundy vehicle, and you can see her very shook up just by her, the way she's moving around.
I think she's on the phone right now.
She's on the phone.
Yeah, she's on the phone. Indeed. Well, I'm glad she seems to be okay. I'm sure she's really, really shaken up from the whole experience. In case you're just watching us, you're watching the end of pursuit that has been going on for about an hour now through the streets of downtown LA, a very dangerous pursuit of two robbery suspects. You see one of them running out of their car after crashing into a bus stop in the Echo Park area, the Echo Park Sunset Boulevard area. There you see a number of police officers in pursuit of that one person believed to be the driver. They will take him down momentarily, but these guys, gosh, they have driven all over downtown LA and risking many lives.
And it looks like right there, you're seeing earlier about 5 officers, I believe, took down the driver as the passenger ran the other way. Here you see from much earlier, it looked like the driver and passenger were tossing things out, possibly clothing, papers. I even thought I saw maybe something that looked like a cell phone.
Yeah, you had mentioned that.
It looked like it hit hard, but here you see them. They're driving through the streets of LA, fast, erratic.
Driving on the wrong side of the street, on the wrong side of the freeway.
Barely missing cars and pedestrians. One slowed down right there and then kept on going, but taking officers on a ride through downtown LA.
They were not going to be stopped. They were doing everything they can in desperation to get away. And there you see him trying to, actually narrowly missing the guy who was trying to cross. He was in a wheelchair. Thank goodness he's safe. Thank goodness so many people were safe.